Hello, everybody, and welcome to a very special edition of Crossy's Corner. I'm Martin Cross, and with me are two amazing brothers, Ollie Parish and Jasper Parish. Hello, guys.
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Yeah.
Well, it's amazing that you're able to be with us this afternoon, and thanks everybody that's joining this edition of Crossy's Corner. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about the boat race and that incredible triumph of the Light Blues. But just give us a flavour of what you're doing right now and where you are, guys.
Yeah. Do you want to go first, Jasper?
Yeah, sure. What am I doing right now? Pretty much nothing. I've been pretty relaxed the last 2 weeks now, 2.5 weeks. Long time's passed already. Yeah, no, I've been taking it very easy, just allowing myself to be bored and just no early mornings and all that, which is definitely nice to have. I think Ollie's. Yeah, sorry, I've been revising for exams, everyone. Yeah, Ollie's been doing a little bit more rowing, so yeah. I'm sure.
Yeah, no, good. Yeah, I've been up in Cambridge training with Luca in the pair. It's good, little combination going on. Yeah, it's been. I also got exams and very soon after trials, so yeah, it's a bit of revision, bit of training the pair. Couldn't be better. Yeah.
So, are you going to do the pair for the under-23 trials? Is that right, Ollie?
Yeah, that's right. So trials this weekend. It's a regatta style, like time trial semi-final, and yeah, I'll be in the pair with Luca, which is good because we've got a decent amount of experience at the U23s last year. So we've done a lot of racing in the pair, and it's a fun combination. We're like both like the side-by-sideness, there's a raciness of it. Yeah, looking forward to it. Yeah.
Now, you've both won boat races in the past. You've won the women's boat race, Jasper, and Ollie, you won when the race was at Ely. How has the post-boat race feel been after this particular race compared to those other contests?
I'd say for Ely, it was pretty special because it was maybe the second week after lockdown had lifted. So we got special dispensation to start training for the last 2 weeks of lockdown. We went through, so I don't know, the BRCL did a good job, went through government channels and stuff and got us training for a few weeks before. And then just as things were opening up and it was getting quite brighter outside, we raced and then got into Cambridge. And for the first time, we'd like seeing all these people out on the streets, like the market was busy, people coming up to us and saying, well done. It was pretty special. Like it was like, a lot of things came together to make that like week and a half, 2 weeks really, really cool.
Yeah.
For me, this year has been similar. Amount of messages, amount of like people who've got in contact to say well done. It's been really special. Yeah, and also because I've been able to spend time with family afterwards. Not so many restrictions on moving around. It's quite nice to get out and about a little bit.
How about for you, Jasper?
Yeah. So obviously, I was last year was much more open, and COVID stuff didn't really apply. So yeah, I mean, it's very similar in a lot of ways. I think last year, because we had so many internationals and stuff in the crew, that the crew kind of split apart quite a lot quicker. Like we're still like all great friends, but people spend less time in Cambridge and all that. So I think the difference this year is really that the crew will be together probably a lot longer. We're all basically students, much more students than maybe last year. So yeah, I think it's gonna be a fun summer probably.
Oh, wicked. Now I want to take you back to before the boat race. I think one of the fixtures a couple of weeks before, where Oxford performed against Leander and basically rode through them. How did you guys look and talk about that particular race? And I'm interested, Jasper, in particular, because of how you saw that aggressive steering of Anna O'Hanlon and what it made you think.
It's interesting you bring that up because I'm currently I'm in our living room at home, and this is I think Ollie was here as well. Ollie was sitting just back there somewhere. We got a TV over here which you can't see, but we were watching this on TV live with I think you're on commentary, right?
Yeah.
Martin. And I think we maybe had Noam and Brett as well also in the room. and yeah, as soon as like sort of maybe the first half of that piece was maybe what we expected, and then that it was very weird watching them row through. I sort of remember being quite quiet and trying not to think about it. But yeah, so that was definitely an interesting moment. I think. Well, I guess there's two aspects to that race. There's the one part in which Oxford won the piece and we lost the piece, and the other aspect is the steering towards the end of the race, which I think we've all seen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think the result thing was what stuck in our heads. I think straight away it's just like, okay, they're at the moment it looks like they're quicker than us. Like it's different Leander crew and all that, but like we're underdogs now was I think basically the feeling that we came out of that fixture with. And then and on the steering point of view, I think I don't know, it's exciting, I guess.
Yeah, I mean the steering when I saw the steering I was kind of super excited by it because like I don't know if there's someone I back in like a side-by-side piece and with the steering wise, it's Jasper. You know, he's going to be so aggressive, but like he just gets it in a way that means he's going to tread the line perfectly, and I trust him to do that like 10 times out of 10. So if it was going to be like some dodgy steering piece, then you know, and he wouldn't also like give up the water. He wouldn't, you know. So yeah, seeing the aggressiveness of the steering was quite encouraging for me.
Yeah.
And also,
Go on.
Yeah, no, and the piece, we didn't really talk about the racing too much as a crew, the right race result. But I think in the sort of week prior to that, we'd raced Brooks, I think the week before or 2 weeks before. And in that time, we'd already gotten quite a lot better. And we knew that like we had quite a lot of momentum going to that, like before the Leander piece. And then after that kind of kept getting better. You know, our heads didn't go down so much. I think it was more like, right, now we're on something, we're going well. Let's just like try and drive it up. And we know we're going to be racing a pretty good Oxford crew. So let's get as much out of the next 2 weeks as we can.
Yeah, I talked to Rob Baker very briefly after the boat race, and he pointed. You've already mentioned that the crew came on. He pointed to the last 2 weeks in particular, where you picked up a lot of speed. I mean, what was going on there for you guys?
Yeah, good question. I think so. We I don't know if you know. Do you know Marco Banovic?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was sort of let's call him a consultant coach. He sort of came in maybe like he was in the week of the Brooks fixture, and I think maybe also Leander, but he was definitely there in race week for every session and helping us along. He would sort of give us a kick up the arse when we weren't getting the rate high enough, or maybe a sort of another perspective when there's a bit more speed to find. Dara.
Hi, Dara.
Yeah, so I think maybe Marco is a big point. I think the last 2 weeks maybe as well, you just get like everyone just gets a bit of a drive on, and when we move into the house together and stuff, it's like, okay, this is real. Like, no, we need to make steps on every session now, and you know we're gonna do what we have to do to try and win this. Yeah, and
it was quite so. Yeah, it's quite a sort of a new crew. You know, a lot of guys coming in from random places. I think like not so many returners. Everyone was just kind of super excited to be there. You know, and as soon as we got like a sniff of, here are the TV cameras, like no one's getting interviewed, like whoa, like everything's happening. Let's like build on that excitement and really like nail the rowing. I think that sort of we kind of channeled that excitement and the enthusiasm around the race really well in those last 2 weeks.
So race day, how did that feel for you? And how were you arriving at the embankment just before the race?
Well, for me, honestly, I felt quite a lot more relaxed than last year. I think last year, like just arriving at the embankment and like driving through in the minibus, so you drive through crowds to get in. It's just like, whoa, this is so different to Nat Schools. This is so different to every other event I've ever done. You know, like even Henley is nothing. It's just nothing compared to like driving down the embankment and seeing all these people. And I remember last year just having the shakes and just being like unable to stop them, like right the way up until a couple of minutes before the start or even during the start. But this year, way more relaxed. I think the result was maybe less of a given, or definitely less of a given. But in terms of actual nerves, I think I felt a lot better. Maybe it was just a case of having done it before, but also I just felt really confident in the crew, and in the mood of the crew. So yeah, felt pretty relaxed actually.
Yeah, me too, actually. Yeah, I remember thinking. I remember thinking like last year I was like absolutely like paralyzed with nerves. After right up to the start line, I couldn't think. I couldn't see straight almost. But this year was so much. It was a lot like I don't know how to put it together. I think having the idea of the fact that we were maybe underdogs or underdogs in the eyes of the world was quite helpful. It changed it from right, this is ours to lose into like right, let's go after this and like try and do as much damage as we can. I remember we walked up to the course. Was it the night before?
Yeah, the night before.
Walked up.
Yeah.
So we were staying with Mark Davies, one of the Cambridge alumni. Beautiful house in Barnes, and we walked from there up to the river, right next to Barnes Bridge, and we were all just kind of talking through the race, like, what are we going to think here? What are we going to think there? Yeah. And like, you really got the sense that everyone was just so excited and up for it, and it really just melted all the nerves away. We're from like this kind of nervous, what's going to happen energy to right, like, let's go absolutely destroy this race.
Yeah,
let's go get excited.
No, I do.
Let's go have fun.
I do remember coming out of that and just like I think we started the walk and I was feeling pretty relaxed, and I got to the end of it and my heart rate was up so much because I was so excited, just like didn't actually slept okay that night, I think, but
just felt calm, felt relaxed, felt like energized. It's quite cool, it was quite a cool feeling in the crew.
So was there anything Rob Baker said in his pre-race talk to you that was really inspirational, or was it just by then quite matter of fact, we've done all the work and this is just the end product?
Yeah, I think it was quite matter of fact. He had some emotional chats throughout the week saying, you guys are going to win this. You guys can win this race. Like, let's get this right. Like, you're going well. And then on the race day, it was very much, right, here's the race plan. You guys know what you're doing. We've talked through this. Yeah. Like maybe like a couple of tweaks that were like, this bit looks a bit rough, so do this or whatever.
Which I think is exactly what we needed, really. I think, I think our crew had a big focus on actually being sort of focused in the moment and like, and being focused on the stroke we're on and nothing else really, just like nailing being in the moment and doing what we need to do like right now. I think part of that is not getting too emotional and just staying, keeping the headspace.
What did you say about the water, and how aware were you that the water was going to cut up really quite badly around by Fulham Football Club?
Yeah, maybe Jasper.
My feeling was, so we looked at the forecast obviously in the week before, and my feeling was that it was going to be, maybe I'm not really sure how to describe it, but sort of a medium headwind sort of coming onto the straight after Fulham, the Crabtree Reach we called it, but certainly nothing to the level that there was on the race. I think I wasn't expecting white caps or anything, and then when we start getting hit when the riggers start to cut through the waves, then that was well beyond what I was expecting.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about it at all. I feel like I think we hadn't shied away from the rough water in the couple weeks before just because we knew that it might have been bad, but we didn't talk about the sort of race tactics around that. We didn't talk about cutting in or anything. So I think I personally go on, sir. I personally during the race was super relieved when Jasper said like, right, I'm going over shelter. Like, oh God, thank God, get out this rough water. But I don't know. I think some of the other, I don't know. I think it was, some of the other guys in the crew might have been a bit shaky.
Yeah, I was thinking about it as well. We didn't even talk about using bilge pumps or anything, but in hindsight, it might have been. I think the way it turned out, we didn't need them, and it would have been less useful than not having them. But it was certainly like within reason, and we didn't really talk about it that much at all. So yeah, I don't know.
How aware were you of the strength or lack of strength of the incoming stream and while you were sat on the start? Because traditionally you think that the thing floods down, but I guess with 4 races to get through and your race right at the end, what was your awareness of that?
Yeah, good question. So when we get attached to the stake boats, you sort of have to, you do this maneuver where you sort of you sort of coast. You stop paddling and you coast, and you do a little turn, and then you drift on, and you get caught by one of the guys on the stake boats. And in basically every practice we've done, we've been drifting at a decent speed towards the stake boat. But on race day, I think it was maybe like half the speed of one of the slower starts we'd ever done, and it was just I just remember being sat there and being like, oh, I might have to worry about timing now because like umpire's going to be calling 5 minutes in a moment. We're going to get a full start or whatever. But yeah, it's sort of something we were aware of. I don't think it was like the number one thing in my mind when we were sort of coming around Craven Cottage. Like it wasn't really the reason that I tucked in, but at the same time, I think it did play a big part in it being a successful move, I guess.
So at that time when you came up to Craven Cottage, you were slightly down on Oxford, I guess. How far do you think you were down?
Probably 2-3 seats. I don't know. What do you think, Ollie?
Yeah, maybe. I think maximum like a third of a length, 3 or 4 seats. I think. Yeah, I mean, it was about 3 or 4 seats. It's pretty level after 45 seconds, I think. Then they eked out about a third of a length.
Yeah.
In like a minute, like after the first minute up until 90 seconds or something. And then you can see like both crews just get hit by a wall of wind and then kind of come back together quite quickly. And then Jasper made his move. Yeah. So I think.
Go on, Ollie.
Yeah. So in our race plan in 2021, we had a big deal about the second minute. The second minute was where we were going to, which ended up working quite well, but it was where we were going to like break the race. This year, it wasn't so much. We really wanted to have a good second minute, but it was the Crabtree Reach, which was going to be like where we set up our race, which would have been minute 3, I guess. So being a third of a length down then, we was kind of within our sort of tolerance ranges, I think.
Yeah. I think we talked a lot about being basically side by side the whole way, and potentially being down for most of the race. So yeah, we were I think we were pretty prepared. Like I was feeling pretty comfortable actually, not necessarily in the result, but I was feeling pretty comfortable in our rhythm. Like even if we're a third of length down, like, we can stay in this rhythm and we're going to be like in this race.
So are you looking over to your right and seeing flatter water compared to what you're going through? And are you then intuitively on the spur of the moment thinking that looks good over there?
Yeah, good question. It's sort of So as we came past the last boat on the line of boats, that's when the whitecaps really started picking up, and that was when maybe we had a rigger dip or two, and that's when it first like came into my head that we might want to tuck in, and actually, if you look at the stream, like the water isn't that much better, but it's fractionally better to the point where the riggers basically don't hit the water, and I think that is basically the defining difference. It's like if the riggers are hitting the water, basically any other water is quicker, and we managed to find a bit of water that was maybe slightly quicker, and as you say, the stream was a little bit lower, so maybe the cutting of the corner wasn't quite as drastic a move as it would have been on the average tideway day, but yeah, I was seeing fewer white caps, and it's still quite this is surprisingly lumpy actually, because the Fulham Wall, I don't know, the Fulham Wall is like basically a sheer like vertical wall, so the water just like bounces off it, and especially at high tide like that, it was still pretty nasty, but it was definitely a little bit better.
Was that just a gentle rudder move, or how much rudder did you put on for that?
Good question. I think you can sort of see it in the stream. It takes maybe like in the live stream. I mean, you can sort of see it. Maybe takes like 3 strokes to turn like a decent amount of the bend. So I guess, I
think going through that water,
better idea.
Yeah, I remember going through that water. It's like, I mean, it doesn't look so bad on the stream, but on the YouTube. But if when you're rowing in it, it just feels like absolute hectic. Yeah. So I think a bit of rudder didn't notice it, I don't think.
So I know there was a Cox's recording because my kids listened to it before it was taken down. Which was I guess it was a show. I can understand why it might have been taken down. But I think my kids were saying you were incredibly calm. You sounded incredibly calm. What do you remember of that move your brother made, Ollie?
Yeah, it was good. It was, I don't know. I remember thinking in the race, I was just so relieved he was moving. I was about to shout at him to do it, honestly.
Oh, were you?
Yeah, I was thinking in my head, am I going to shout at Jasper to move? That's such a big call from me. But no, I'm so glad he did. He was super calm about it, and again, like he's got the experience that like you can just trust him. He's he's just a tideway guy. He's been on this water. He's grown up and rode on this water, so trusting of him. So he can be relaxed. He doesn't need to justify it to us. And then we move out, and suddenly, so we move into the bank, and we can't see them anymore. They're like a few boat widths away from us. And then suddenly Jasper says over the mic, like, guys, we've just taken 2 seats. And everyone's like, well, no, don't believe him. He's just telling us that to try and keep our morale up. Then suddenly he's like, guys, I'm on the 5 seat. I'm like, no chance. And then suddenly I'm on the 2 seat. Like, oh my God. So it was like, kind of came out of nowhere. And then suddenly we came back into the stream. And then from there, it was basically him staying as relaxed as possible and keeping us as relaxed as possible in order to, just not mess anything up, just stay super in control, keep everyone super focused on the moment. Because we are quite a new crew, a lot of guys from random places, a lot of talented athletes, but it's, with so many people from so many places in the world, it's quite hard to, it'd be very easy for us to mess it up, So him staying relaxed, keeping us relaxed, was really expertly done for the last 3 quarters of the race.
It just occurred to me, have you ever steered over that way when you're at St. Paul's, Jasper?
Good question. I'm not sure I have, honestly. I think, okay, in fairness, Hammersmith Bridge was closed for basically my entire senior year. So maybe the time where I would have been doing it the most was the time when I couldn't do it at all. So I mean there's a difference at Paul's. I think there's a much bigger focus on getting the best order that we can. There's no benefit to training in conditions. Whereas the races.
So coming round to Harrods, you nearly have clear water. You're getting warned by the umpire quite a lot. What's going through your mind then? And how good does that rhythm feel?
Yeah, so for me, I'm just thinking like, whatever I do, I'm not going to hit this crew. Basically, I need to make sure, because if you're Oxford, like you're basically your number one priority is to get contact. If I'm being warned and I'm basically still got overlap, it's over for me. So yeah, I'm thinking, God, I've got to get it out. There's big red flags in my head, and you see it on the stream. I think I make a bit of an overcorrection at about 5-6 minutes in. I make Is it still working? Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. So I make a bit of an overcorrection there, and then the next 3 or 4 strokes, I have to get back onto my line. So that was probably a mistake, but I was basically I was trying to be as safe as possible. Last year in the women's race, I think in hindsight I probably pushed it just over the line. I think I don't necessarily regret it, but I think I wouldn't go further than that. I don't want to be within 2 feet of their bows, and so that's what I was thinking in the race. Basically, we've got control of this. I don't want to be disqualified at this point, so I'm going to get out of the way.
So what's going through your head, Ollie, as you're coming around Hammersmith Bridge? Maybe just a bit clear of the dark blues. It's their bends. What's your thoughts? What do you focus?
Yeah, well, I know. I think as a crew beforehand, we were always on very simple focuses, which is just to stay in the moment, keep it I think it was basically just to stay in the moment and stay focused. So that was kind of what was going through my head. I was just stay in the moment. We know that every minute that we stay, we got this clear. We had a bit of clear water there, so Jasper was over a little bit, so we're giving them wash, and we know that if we can just keep giving them wash, just stay in this position. The longer we stay here, the less, the more certain we are of getting the result. So it was really a case of just keeping it together, keeping it relaxed, staying focused, and not giving anything away. I think there was There were a couple of moments around that bend where we had to do big moves to try and check the Oxford boat. They did make some pretty big attacks.
Yeah.
I think they got back to overlap a few times. Started looking dangerous, but I think the crew did a really good job of staying composed during those points and moving out, because we could have gotten stressed by that. You know, it's quite difficult. We come out of the rough water, now we're in flat water for the first time. It's almost like a different test of speed for the two crews. So it might have been that Oxford would be way flatter and way faster in the flat water. So we would have had to really worry. But I think that didn't end up being the case, and everyone stayed super relaxed and super dialed into Jasper. And you know.
And how good did it feel? I mean, people were saying from outside the boat, you know, Cambridge looked really good. They were really smooth, really relaxed. I mean, how did it feel?
Yeah, it was really nice.
It was definitely the best that we'd ever rowed in that water.
Yeah, absolutely.
Between Fulham and Harrods was easily the best we rowed in that. I mean, we hadn't rowed in that much in that kind of water, but definitely the best.
And then even when we came around the bend as well. Yeah.
That's when it's kicked round into tailwind, right? And then it was
there was a moment when you called
the rate ticking.
It's like, we talked about a little bit of changing conditions. There was a moment when you called, right, guys, now we're in the tailwind. And the whole boat just sort of picked up. It's like, oh yeah, we talked about this. Let's go. We got up one in the rate and zipped it up. And it felt really good. It was a really good piece from us. Yeah, I think everyone, once we were up, it was the same as perhaps the Dutch fixture. We had a fixture against the Dutch where we, on the first piece, we caught them napping basically for the first 2 minutes. And once we got up, everyone kind of relaxed and everyone calmed down and started rowing much, much better. And so I think once we were able to get up and relax, it was quite helpful. Yeah.
So when does it feel, you know, you're coming past the crossing point, up to the bandstands, it starts to be your bend. Is there any different thoughts going through your head at that point? Or are you trying to block them out? What about you, Jasper? Are you conscious?
Yeah, good question. I think someone just came out of our house. I don't know who that was. Acres for dogs. Okay, sorry, the dog's back. So I think maybe, I mean, most of the race, all I'm thinking about is basically the next minute and what's going to happen in the minute. Like, how are we going to, like, who's got momentum, and like if they've got momentum, then how am I going to, you know, keep the crew relaxed and keep the rhythm and hold our margin if we have to. But maybe coming around the bandstand, I think was maybe the moment. I took a look around and it was maybe a length and a half or a length and 2/3 even, and like that's a big like confidence builder. I think that was probably the biggest margin we ever had in the race, and that speaks to Oxford a lot, because like, you know, they basically rode us down, like rode maybe 3/4 of a length out of us with 7 guys. So, you know, credit to them for that. But maybe coming around the bandstand, I was starting to get really confident. You know, basically, if we stay in this rhythm, I think I made the call in the race. Even I say something like, "If we stay in this rhythm, we will win this race." And then from then on, essentially what we did was basically stay in our rhythm.
How enjoyable was the last bit from Barnes Bridge round to the finish, or does it not get enjoyable in the boat race until you cross the line?
Drags on a bit, I'll tell you that. No, but it's I mean, it's crazy to be you know, in control of a race at that point. It's just amazing. I mean, Ollie's probably pretty tired at that point, but for me, it's just like, wow, like, just enjoy this. And then maybe like 15 strokes before the line, then the wind picked up again. The headwind picked up. I was like going down the crew, like, you know, starting to kick on the emotional stuff, and then the wind picked up, and I was just like, okay, no, ditch that, like, back on the technical, like stay in control and like get the catches in and all that. So no, it was a fun last 3 minutes, but I think also just like, got to stay focused. Don't think about the finish at all. Like, moment now.
Could you believe it when you crossed the line, Ollie?
Yeah, that was pretty amazing. Yeah, because I'd kind of grown up watching these boat races, and it had been when I was growing up, when I was interested in rowing, it was the early 2010s, like 2010 through to maybe 2017. But Oxford were pretty dominant. Like most years, Oxford won, and so it was kind of drilled into me, like Oxford just always win, always win, always win. And then it was great to win at Ely, but then coming back to the Tideway and losing to Oxford, it got to my head a little bit. And then finally on the Tideway, getting to win was just the most amazing feeling. You know, this is where it's just like my water, you know, this is where I've learned to row. This is where I live really near here. This is everything. And then, you know, winning the boat race is, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Yeah.
And then Jasper, you made a dive for your brother.
Yeah. No. I remember that, like that 30 seconds crossing the line. I was watching the guy on the bank with his flag ready to, you know, drop it. And the minute he did, I was like, oh my gosh, it's just the best feeling. There was no way I wasn't going to climb over Luca. I think I gave him a hug.
Give Luca a hug on the way.
But there was no way I was going to. No.
Cool.
And have you had any contact with your opponents since then?
Not much. Some nice messages from those guys. Those guys are all super lovely. Yeah. No, and they did a great job as well. It's tough with the stations and everything. Yeah.
I remember on the beach they were all like super gracious. Anna especially as well.
That's wicked. I want to go and talk about the whole St Paul's thing in just a moment, but there's a few questions come in. One which came in a while ago from MPF, and if you're watching still, sorry you've had to wait so long for your question. Your plans for the future in terms of careers?
Yeah, good question. A big question for me. This is my last year of university. Question marks over what I do next year. Who knows? Hasn't really sorted that out yet. I've got exams in not very long, sort of a week or so. I was thinking of get those done, and then got a bit of project work to finish off, and then I'll figure out what next year is after that. But Jasper's got a bit more time, I think. Jasper's got at least one more year, maybe two.
Yeah, 1 or 2 years. I've got to get a first next year if I want to do a fourth. Take each year at a time. But yeah, for sure.
And Giovanni Ippolito, who's a regular watcher to this podcast. Hi, Giovanni. I think he's asked this question before. So what's your 2K erg and the average of the blue boat?
Whoa. So I think on the ergos this year, we were very weak. It's probably the weakest blue boat, potentially the weakest blue boat, at least in the last 20 years. In terms
Definitely
of
in recent memory. Yeah.
We
had
a
light crew as well.
Yeah, slightly lighter as well, so that helps a little bit. The best I've done is 6:08. I think crew average. I don't think we had anyone under 6 minutes. We had Tom Lynch at 5, who just went sub 6 the other day.
Oh wow!
Who had done 6:00.1 a couple of times. I'd say, what's the average? Do you think? I don't think we ever worked it out, but it would have been 6:07 or something, 6:06.
Yeah, somewhere
15.
around there.
Yeah, for the 5Ks, it would have been, I don't know, 16:05 maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe not that fast even. Yeah.
Do you think you could have given last year's Cambridge boat a run for their money?
Potentially not.
I was going to say.
We definitely rode well this year. I think we had a really good rhythm. We also rode well last year, I guess. But I think, just we'd be way outpowered by last year's blue boat, unfortunately.
Okay, well, let's take a look at the whole St Paul's thing, and just one of the most amazing things in rowing is if you say what's the most watched rowing video, and you look on YouTube, it's St Paul's winning the 2018 Princess Elizabeth Cup, which
cool.
It's just a tiny bit shy of 250,000 views. I'm sure it'll get there maybe this year, which is astounding, really. So I guess, 2018 was a very special season for you, Ollie.
Yeah, that was really amazing. Yeah, very, very lucky to be part of that crew. So there were 6 returners plus Axel, the Cox, who actually was a big value add to that crew, I think. But there were 6 returners from the previous year who had won Nat Schools. So they were a pretty tight unit. And it also helped the 2018 crew that they had lost Henley. They lost Henley to Scotch in 2017. Loads of returners. They're rowing really well. They won their schools, and now they're coming in hungry. So me and Tom Horncastle from the year below jumped in to fill some vacancies, and just had an absolute blast. Getting to row with those guys. Darren Calvin obviously gone on to do amazing things. But like down the crew, you got George Dickinson, epic rower, Princeton lightweight. Tom Horncastle just won the E23s. LV as well, just rode 4 years at Cal. Like such good talent. And then Bobby as well. He was really, really coaching well at that point. He still is, obviously, but he really, really did a good job with us.
So we'll talk a bit about, maybe that race. But what was your view of your brother for that season, Jasper?
Oh, I mean, I think 2018 was a big year for St. Paul's as a whole club. Like, I remember, I think I would have been a J15 then. I think if Ollie would have been the year.
Yeah, I was J17. So yeah.
So yeah, we had a great year as well. I think it was probably the most successful year that St. Paul's had ever had up to that point, and it felt like so St. Paul's maybe had over the last 10 years. St. Paul's has come on a lot, and I think it started with like Arthur Doyle and Dave Ambler and people, and then it built up to this like stellar 2018.
It started with
year, which was
started with 2015, well. I think.
Right.
Yeah, I think 2015. Watching them win Henley, the iconic. They're not going to disqualify St. Paul's. Ringing through.
Cheer to Wendell. Cheers. Yeah.
It was really like iconic. It said Ben's crew as well, who was in the crew with us this year. Really like those guys, so inspirational. I think they really spearheaded the extra sessions. I think they started doing extra UT2s. They started really uplifting the volume of training, which allowed Bobby to give them, which allowed Bobby to do his work. Work is magic, basically. And then when we saw them win, having this epic story of having lost for 5 years to Westminster and then finally winning at Henley, that spurred on the guys ahead of me. That spurred on Calvin and Dower and all those guys. And so they lifted up and won that schools a couple of years later, and then Henley the next year. Yeah, Uncle Freddie. Sorry, Uncle Freddie. No, him as well. And then him coming to Cambridge just was a big thing for me, Watching him go to Cambridge and win the boat race here was on Tideway. It's just amazing. A really big motivator for me to go to Cambridge, probably Jasper as well. And Cam Spears, I know that too. He's another St. Paul's guy applying to Cambridge, came to Cambridge in Goldie this year. So, and then from there, once you've got like a momentum, once you've got belief in a program, everything kind of falls out of that, I think. Yeah.
So what is it around Bobby Thatcher? I know Donald Leggett as well did quite a bit of coaching with you. What is it about Bobby Thatcher's style of coaching or the way he works with the crew that gets the kind of results that he does?
Yeah, so,
I think it's go on, sorry.
Yeah, I think he's got a really good eye, and he can also explain things really well. I remember we did a lot of pairs work. I don't know if they still do, but back in my day, we did a lot of pairs work. He really got into people, He would he'd pick up really subtle points that would change the way you're rowing completely, but without having to sort of think about it so much. It's hard to explain. He really had a good eye and a really good way of explaining things, and a really good understanding of what made a boat go fast as well.
I'd say that for me, that's the big thing, right? Yeah. It's like he has this this idea of what the rowing stroke should be, and it's so clear, and I think just having the clarity and it's like the Harry Mahon style or whatever, right? It's like this is how a boat goes fast. Like if you want to go fast, do this, and then at the same time having the eye to spot these little things that will get you on the road to that rhythm. And then 2018 is just the best example of that, right? So,
well, let's talk a bit about what were you going to say, Jasper?
Well, just like if you have 6 returners, it's like 6 guys who've gone through Bobby for 2 years and had all these little things stacked on top of each other until you have a core rhythm, which is unbreakable.
So I guess the thing about 2018, and I remember doing an interview with Tony O'Connor, who coached the New Zealand's Olympic championate, and he talked about watching that video, I think, more than once, which is amazing in terms of the spread and the influence. But you guys, I think there's a shot quite close up of you after about 2.5, 3 minutes, where you're just looking so relaxed, so smooth.
Mm-hmm.
The boat's just moving in a way, which it shouldn't be moving that fast, because you don't look to be doing that much.
Yeah. No, it didn't feel like it looks. Yeah. It felt really, it's hard to describe how like silky it felt in the boat, how nice it was to row. But we were working hard. It's like, it was a big piece of ours was like relaxed faces and just absolutely relaxed shoulders, relaxed everything, and only working in the muscles that count. There was a lot of front end, a lot of front end work, and then towards Henley, in the run into Henley, we worked out the back end as well. A lot of power strokes and stuff, and I think there was a lot of power going down, especially from seats like Calvin. He was doing more than his share, I'm sure. It was pretty amazing. Yeah, pretty amazing moment.
Now in that race, I guess you were the overwhelming favourites to beat Eton, and I'm guessing you had more than one eye on the record.
Yeah, so we knew it was going to be fast conditions. We knew it was going to be fast conditions. Basically, we had gotten a couple of the intermediate records throughout the week. We got the barrier and the Forley at different points during the week. We hadn't broken them by that much. We had done some much faster times during training the week before, it's quite hard to do, especially as a school crew, when you go into a race, you're strong favourites, and you decide to try and get the Forley record, which I think we did one of the days. We're going to try and get to the Forley as fast as we can, try and break that record, and then paddle down, assuming we're in a good spot. And it's quite hard to do because it's quite a young crew, and if everyone doesn't buy into it, then the rhythm can be a bit weird. And then you got to row afterwards. It's like there's a little bit of uncertainty there, and also it was fast conditions with the tailwind, but it wasn't like beautiful water at all. So there's a little bit of uncertainty, a little bit of nerves creeping in because of that. And then we got to Radley, which is the semi-final, and we decided to throw out. We're not going to go for records anymore. We're just going to try and win the race. Everyone relaxed completely, and we had a great race. And then we went into Eton, super clear heads, and let's just try and get the full course record. And we went way faster to the barrier and Forley. We got the records to those two markers from previous in the week anyway. So like, it was just more about let's race our 2K rather than worry about records. Let's just race the 2K and beat Eton was the goal. Yeah.
I almost got the impression, in terms of your celebrations, you celebrated the record more than the win.
Yeah, it was fun because we talked about it a little bit. I had talked about it a little bit, but beating Eton to win Henley was really cool. And then there's kind of this moment afterwards where you celebrated for 30 seconds, and then you come round and it's a bit quiet. There's no one. The spectators are either in the stewards' enclosure or over at the boating tent. Between the two, there's like not much going on. So Leo looked out and saw, I don't know who, someone, Roma or Bobby or someone, and shouted, and what time did we get? And someone shouted back that we had broken the record by a decent chunk. And then he went wild and everyone else went wild. And it was another excuse to go absolutely crazy. Big celebrations.
Wow.
Yeah, very cool. But like, super exciting moment. Super, super lucky to be part of it.
Yeah. Jasper, I kind of want to take you back a little bit to last year's race where you won the women's event, and how long it took you to decide that this year you were going to go for the men's version.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that because it took a long time. I actually went into this year thinking I was going to go with the women. And then in the first week, I did a couple sessions with the men as well, because there were a couple short on coxes just because of logistics and holidays and stuff. And then I had another think about it. I talked to a couple people, and basically it was between, staying with the women and with Paddy, a coach that I know quite well, and Quiver as well as the president. We're both great friends, obviously. So like, it was between that, and then there was maybe slightly more competition on the men's side as well, given that Ollie Boyne was president. But then the payoff of having the potential to race with my brother would be pretty cool. So yeah, it wasn't a given to me that I would go with the men. I think.
It was 2 or 3 weeks into preseason, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was actually reasonably late when I switched.
Yeah.
How tough was the selection process for you, and what made the difference as far as you were aware between you and Ollie?
Yeah, good question. I mean, I think it was very close for a long time. Right the way up to the race, I think it was very close. I think the point where I was sort of in the boat was during camp, which was in January, like coming right out of the Christmas break. But then I didn't really get to see that much of my own selection. It's kind of interesting. There's Rob's really good at being transparent about stuff, and he's very clear beforehand, like what he would use as metrics to compare us to. But actually, like, I didn't get to see a lot of that because he's looking at the feedback from Ollie and the other guys. Maybe not even Ollie on it. Honestly, I don't.
Yeah, not me.
Yeah. Okay. Fair enough.
Fair. So, yeah, which is infuriating, but absolutely fair. Absolutely right. Yeah.
So yeah, I didn't really see much of it, and then one day, like in camp, he basically said, like, from Tuesday or whatever, you're going to be in the boat for the rest of the week, and then that rest of the week turned into the rest of the season. So yeah.
So Ollie, you say you didn't have any input. I guess because you were at one stage you were the stroke of the crew. I know you actually eventually rode 7, but I guess that was deliberate on Rob's part, was it?
Yeah. So I was a stroke during camp, actually, mostly, I think, if I'm not wrong mistaken. Yeah, and I think it was good to test out whether we would work well together, because it's the first time we've actually rowed in the same squad. We've kind of both been rowing close to each other in a sense for ages. We're both at the same school, but 2 years apart. So we never really got to row together. I think the odd mixed date session, like sort of Christmas plum pudding style racing. But the first time we actually get some real serious racing together, we might have arguments, we might fall apart. So I think camp was a good time to test that. But then, Ollie Boyne as well, fantastic cox, really, really good cox. And it speaks to the standard of coxes at Cambridge. There really has been a strong point. And Ollie Boyne learned to cox at college. He learned, I don't know, 4 years ago maybe, is that right? Yeah, maybe 4 years ago. And then 3 years ago, he joined CBC, and since then he's gotten so good. It's just such a hard selection thing. But it ended up that me and Jasper just get on so well, kind of understand each other so well. I think that was a big factor for me. It's just that sort of connection. You can sense each other. If someone's annoyed or like there's something not right, we can pick up on it.
And I think actually we did pretty well at not. I'm not sure we had any big arguments or anything pretty much the entire season. And I think maybe if we had an argument, it might have been pretty bad for the crew.
Game over for Jasper.
It didn't happen. But actually, on the coxing point, I think Cambridge University Boat Club has been like really good at supporting me as a cox. I think like on the women's side, the assistant coach. I don't know if you know Autumn Mantell, who did U23s, and she was at Brooks. We used to do like weekly meetings, like sometimes one-on-one, but basically all with the coxes, and I would take regular recordings, and she'd give feedback, and we'd look at public recordings on the internet and stuff, and just like build a repertoire of coxing skills. And then this year, I've been talking much more with Henry Fieldman, who Rob works with quite a lot, and he's been great. Just like giving me, I think I basically recorded each fixture, I think, and then he was giving me feedback on each of those, and then like in race week, he was basically free whenever I needed to talk to him or wanted to talk to him, and he was just, like giving me loads of confidence, and he was great. So I think the support for Coxes is really good, actually.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point. In terms of, did your crew have a crew leader as such, or was it not like that?
I think
on paper, yes. On paper, it's Ollie. Like we needed a crew captain, I think, for the coin toss or something. But kind of not really. No, it was kind of led. Maybe this is wrong, Ollie, but maybe it was kind of like 2 or 3 people, and it kind of changed. Like I guess like the big talking guys in the boat are like Luca, Ollie, and Seb.
The main
like
speakers, I guess.
Yeah, and then other people would kind of chime in and out when it was needed, which actually worked out really well for us. But maybe it's interesting that we didn't really have like a sort of president figure in the boat who kind of made the final call and everything. Like I'm not a Cox who really likes to do that. Like in the boat, sure, when we're in a race, like I'm going to make a call, but when we're off the water or something, it's just like maybe I'm a bit lazy, but I'm not gonna I'm not I don't know. I'm not the most organized of guys, so
how much difference did the switch that Rob made to put you at 7 and Luca at stroke from the where you were sat in the stroke seat? Because I think of you as a stroke man, I guess, because that's where I've seen you before, Ollie.
Yeah, I've been a stroke quite a lot. Yeah, no, I think it's really good. I think Luca's a really good stroke man. I think he's so racy and so dynamic. It's like as soon as he relaxes and gets into his pattern, he's an absolute savage in the stroke seat. I think really valuable to have there. Yeah, and I'm a bit more. I'm very happy at 7. It's like slightly pressure off. I'm not sort of right in the hot seat like I was last year. I was sort of in the headlights a little bit. At 7, I can kind of sit back. I can stay in Luca's ear. I can. I still feel like I have the influence. I can still chat to Jasper. I think it was a really good move.
Yeah. So just a few little things. MPF has put down some career suggestions for you, Ollie.
Wow. It's very flattering.
Yeah, and I think he's put the same for you, Jasper.
Yeah.
Wow. It's very, very flattering.
Does your dad famously competed in the Atlanta Olympics, Matt. What part, if any, do Olympic ambitions play in your rowing careers?
Yeah, so I think the Olympics is so cool. I think it's really the boat race is cool because it gets the most attention, the most views, but the Olympics is kind of the peak of the sport and the place to do it if you can. I think if that's ever on the table for me, I'll jump at it. I think it's absolutely amazing. At the moment, I need to get better. I need to get much faster on the ergo. I need to get fitter. There are a lot of boxes I would need to tick in order to jump into that arena, shall I say. But yeah, no, really, 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 really cool direction, definitely.
Do you think,
I don't know about Jasper. Yeah,
going in the Caversham setup would provide the sort of lift that you talked about?
Potentially. I'd have to get there first. No, the Caversham setup seems to be doing really well. The last few years they've done absolutely destroyed everything. It's really cool to see people like Freddie go in and win the world championships immediately,
Because Freddie wasn't
and
a
Dave
big
Ambler
ergo
as well.
Freddie wasn't a big ergo puller, was he?
No, he wasn't. He wasn't slow though. He was deceptively fast. He was only. He was like low 80 kilos and test knowledge. And I think the first year at Caversham he already did 5:54. It's pretty decent. He was always pulling 140 for the hardy half-hour 820s at Cambridge. I think he broke 140 for one or two of those. Yeah, he wasn't slow. He was deceptively fast on the ergo, and also so technical. I think definitely at St Paul's, but I think everywhere people were looking to him as a technical model. It's the 2018 boat race and 2019 boat race, just really setting this technical standard there. So, I think that was, it's really cool to see people go to Caversham and do really well. So maybe, but I'd have to get there first. Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Jasper?
Yeah, I'm not sure at the moment. I mean, obviously the Olympics is really cool, and it's I won't lie, it's not it's definitely something that has like driven me to want to do this sport. In terms of actual career ambitions, I'm not heart set on doing the Olympics or even any further international stuff, honestly. But certainly it's been very influential on my career so far. So
yeah. Let's just talk briefly about your parents. Zoe, first of all, who, of course, Coxed at University of London. They're obviously fantastic parents. Talk about influences at all on your career.
Yeah, they were amazing. I don't know, like it's very inspirational. Our dad is like so, having gone to the Olympics and having rowed at Cambridge, so humble. I remember sort of being 8 or 9 and like not even knowing that he'd gone to the Olympics. It's like he's gone to the Olympics. The Olympics is the coolest thing in the world.
I remember.
Yeah.
So we host a bunch of rowers like at our house because we live so close to the thing. And I remember Noah once was talking to me and he was like really confused. He was like, "Wait, but your dad's been to the Olympics. Why is he not talking about this?"
Yeah. No, it's so inspirational. I like since then I've just that's what I want to do. I want to go to the Olympics. I want to go to the Olympics. I want to go rowing. And my mum as well. She's they met at UL. Like rowing is part of all of our family friends. Everyone is just super into rowing, super successful as well. A load of like Olympic standard guys. And also they didn't push us to do anything. I don't think they weren't too pushy. They encouraged us to try rowing, encouraged us to keep at it. But then once we kind of caught the bug, it was much more like I come home and chat to my dad for hours. I remember just sitting in the kitchen chatting to him about, I got sea racing here, I got my 2K, how do I approach it? And really like gleaning as much knowledge as I could, which helped me a lot, I think, at school. I think it helps a lot, especially in a school program that's quite big if you have a bit of extra help, like a bit of extra advice and stuff, you can get to the top. Once you're nearer the top, then you get way more coaching, you get way more attention, and it becomes a lot easier. So I think it's really helpful for me. At least, yeah.
Reminds me a bit of story of Hugh Laurie's dad, Ran Laurie, who won Olympic gold in 1948. And I don't think Hugh Laurie knew that until he was about 12 or 13 or something.
Yeah.
It was like, oh, you've got an Olympic gold medal, Dad. It was kind of like one of those odd things. And Matthew's kind of very unassuming, a bit like Ran Laurie was, I think, in that way. So what about the Cambridge crew next year? What are the possibilities looking like at this early stage?
Yeah, it looks really cool. It looks really exciting. I'm very jealous. We've got how many returners? I think it's just me and Nick leaving, just 2 guys leaving the boat, and then we got. I don't know how much I'm allowed to say, but there are lots of recruiting possibilities. I've heard a lot of people who have already been confirmed that they're coming. So I think next year is going to be a really exciting time for Cambridge. Off the back of a win, everyone's going to be super up for it, super ready to attack it. I think Rob's on a roll as well. I think he's really got a good program here, and I think people really trust him. And I think he's going to do a great job. Yeah. I know. Yeah.
And are you thinking of coxing again next year, Jasper?
I'm undecided at the moment, but certainly I'm going to be doing what I can to get another boat race win if I can. So yeah, we'll see. I'm taking it easy right now. I'll just relax for as long as I can. And
the whole thing at Cambridge, it was 4 wins out of 5, was it? And is this 5 wins out of 6 now that Cambridge have had? Have I got that stat right?
Potentially
Might be.
4 out of 5 now, I think.
4 out of
Yeah.
5, is it?
Potentially.
I mean, people were saying, I think at the prize giving when they saw the whole thing with the Light Blues winning everything, that, you know, Cambridge have done something by bringing the two men's and women's clubs together and created an entity that's energizing and, you know, gives back something.
Maybe just as well placed to. Well, I can personally
Yeah.
say that I think it's been really good. I think
Yeah.
like raising the standard as much as we can across all of the programs has brought all the programs up. I think one of the things that emphasizes that is the lightweight program, because 2-3 years ago they were kind of in the dumps. They had lost a few in a row, a couple as favorites, and like they really weren't sort of thriving. And then we started training with them, and they started really buying into the training patterns that we had, and they started getting way better. And then suddenly, out of 6 months or 7 months into us training together, they kind of beat us on a GMT and some random piece. I'm like,
whoa,
what just happened? Like what the hell? Like, and then the next week they did it again. It's like, guys, these guys are good. And like, and then we see them. Yeah, I don't know what it is. It's hard to describe, but just having this other influence, this other set of people who are also training hard and also like to at a high standard was a really positive influence on our squad, I think. Yeah, I know this year again they rode really well, really positive, and sort of yapping at our heels, all that. Yeah, it's good. And we had a lightweight in the boat this year, Matt Edge from last year,
cool.
last year's lightweight president. He did a great job. Yeah.
Matt
in the bows.
Matt was great actually. Yeah, he was actually rowing in the times when maybe he was in the 2021 race where in the lightweight 8 that was beaten, and also 2020 maybe just before lockdown kicked in, and he was just like I remember lots of the race, or not the sort of session briefings or debriefs even, like in race week and before that, it was just like there's a lot of experience like that these guys have like brought into this crew that, you know, they're very different experiences, but like, you know, if we can bring that from the lightweight program, like that's epic. So One Club's been great for us, I think.
And the women as well, like absolutely.
Yeah, no,
I haven't been training directly with them, but I think it's been really cool to be closer. Yeah, spending way more time with them. No, it's good.
Well, I think unless you've got anything more to add, anything you think we haven't talked about, anything you'd like to think the audience would like to hear about?
It was not so much drama this year. I feel like we've got across the main thing. I think, emphasize how fun it was this year. What a fun crew we had. I mean, it's very easy to say that in hindsight, you know, having won, because you kind of look everything with rose-tinted glasses. But it really was such a mix of guys from such amazing backgrounds and just an amazing time. Yeah,
through the whole squad as well, not just the crew. It's just like the whole squad was great, and even like day one, like however many people we have, it's like a huge number of people that start off on day one, and like just the energy is just amazing. Really great.
I was one thing just popped into my head there. I was just kind of going to finish off, but I kind of wanted to say, are there any similarities between Bobby Thatcher and Rob as coaches?
Yeah, good question. I think they both have. They are quite similar. Yeah, they are quite similar. Rob, they both have like a very. No, they are quite similar. They both have a very, very clear idea of what they want and how to get it, and a good understanding of boat speed and how to make crews go fast. I think that really comes through, which it hasn't been the case with a lot of other coaches I've had. I've had a few coaches throughout my time, and lots of good coaches. But yeah, Rob and Bobby both stand out. You know, they have a good understanding and they have a good way of communicating that to the crew. And also I think now that he's been with the heavyweight men for a while, he's found his feet and he's on a roll and he knows what he's doing. He's gonna do a really good job the next few years, I think.
Do you think he'll get asked? to coach any heavyweight GBR crews this year?
Maybe. He coached the pair last summer, right?
Yeah.
Which was pretty successful. They won a few World Cups. Didn't quite get the World Champs right. But, you know, they got bronze. Pretty decent in the pair.
Yeah.
But they won a few World Cups. They won trials. They did it. They did well. I think potentially. I honestly have no idea. It sounds like the Caversham crews aren't set yet. I guess we've got trials this weekend. So I mean, I have no idea, honestly. Yeah.
Well, Ollie, best of luck for trials.
Thank you.
And your finals or your exams coming up next
week.
Yeah.
Thank you. Gonna need it.
And I know, Jasper, that you might still have some more chilling out to do in between intensive bursts of revision.
Yeah, it's going to be a great summer with lots of revision.
Lots of revision. Yeah, nice.
But you've been amazing guests to have over the last hour or so. It's been absolutely gripping to hear you talk through the race. What was an amazing contest. So I think from me, Martin Cross, it's goodbye, and we'll end the live part of this interview now.
Cool. Thank you, man. That was absolutely amazing. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much.